Hi, Laura. How are you today?
Hi, it's so good to see you.
So nice to see you. So I'm going to introduce myself for your followers, then I'm going to have you introduce yourself for my followers. I am Jeff Harding. I'm the wine director at the Waverly Inn in New York City, and we are celebrating International Women's Day with a cooking demo with Northern Italian wines with my friend Laura Pauli, also known as Cucina della Rosa. And Laura, tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much. Cucina Testarossa, which means the redhead's kitchen. And when I was little, my grandfather, who came from a little island called Isperia, right, which is right next to Ischia. When I was little, he used to call me Testarossa. So that's where the redhead's kitchen came in. So thank you so much for having me. So I'm Laura Pauli. I'm here in San Francisco, and chef and sometimes sommelier, and now I can add pastry chef to my my title.
Well, we've done a few of these, and they're on I think they're on my YouTube channel and on Instagram. And it's so nice to do something with a chef who is a teaching chef, because you do these classes that maybe you want to talk about also. But you know a lot about wine too, so we can have a fairly, a serious wine conversation without getting too boring. So what do you have in front of you? What is that and why? And tell me all about the Festa della Nonna.
I am so excited about this. I was just screaming and jumping out of my skin. I am the most pastorally challenged human being on the planet. And when I was cooking in Paris at Pierre Hermé, I did everything wrong. I cut the cookie dough wrong. I cut the lemons wrong. I like everything I did was wrong. And so I'm always terrified to do anything with pastry. So Festa della Donna in Italy, International Women's Day, and they give women bouquets of this beautiful flower called a mimosa, which is my printer decided to run out of yellow ink just as I printed this. But if you can picture this, these are little fluffy yellow puffs attached to a branch, and they're beautiful. And so they make a cake that looks like this mimosa plant. And so this is it. And this looks, I'd say it's pretty darn close. Or
it's so pretty.
A little better than
I don't think people realize that we all know the mimosa drink you drink at brunch, because the color is the color of this flower. And I didn't even know that until I was in Burgundy last year. And they're from more northern Italy, southern France, but they ship them all over France too when it's that season. So it's a gorgeous cake. So how did you make that?
Very carefully, very late last night. So you get a bowl. Actually, you make two white layer cakes and cut them each in half, and then you get a bowl. You put one of the layers. Oh, and you have to trim off all the brown. So you put one layer down in the bowl, but you have to put the plastic down in the bowl first, which I forgot to do. So again, back to my pastorally challenged comments. So you put the first layer down, and then you moisten it with a simple syrup limoncello mixture. And I just happen to have the exact amount of limoncello that I made a year ago. So that went in, and so you moisten the cake with this simple syrup limoncello, or limoncello simple syrup. And then you add, you make a pastry cream, a typical pastry cream that you've folded in whipped cream. And there's a little bit of lemon zest in it. There's vanilla, so flavorful and beautiful. And so you're basically kind of making a trifle. Like you'll put a layer of the pastry cream, and then another layer of the cake, and then you moisten that with the limoncello mix, and you get 3 layers. And then you put it in the refrigerator for a couple hours, let it set, and take it out and unmold it, and then you ice it with the remaining pastry cream. And then you take one of those layers that you didn't use. So this is 3 layers of cake. So you take that 4th layer and you cut it up into little tiny squares, and you just put it on top. So you put the pastry cream on, and then you just carefully put put these little squares of cake on. And then the final thing that you do is you're supposed to dust it with powdered sugar. So I thought I'd save that for all of you. So it looks like it's snowing in here. But the little mimosa flowers are really fuzzy and cute, and so I think this is to sort of emulate the fuzziness. But but that's it. This was so fun to make. I was so excited to make it and terrified at the same time. And so I was absolutely thrilled when it turned out.
Yeah, it's
So,
crazy. I had never heard of it until you talked about it for doing this.
I hadn't either. Marianne Esposito. I went onto her website and she made one in one of her episodes. So I followed her instructions. Yeah.
So one of the reasons we're doing this to celebrate wine, the International Women's Day, is we are showing 2 wines for Northern Italian cuisine, some Conte, I'm going to say it wrong, Conte Brondolini Dada in Friuli. And they're a fantastic winery that makes a variety of wines we're going to go through. And then La Ragose in Valpolicella that I did a live with Marta this morning, but it's unfortunately in Instagram jail right now, so I'm going to sort that out. So let's see. I'm going to just quick read down the menu, and then we're going to start cooking. So we're going to do a roasted bronzino with tomato and herbs. We're going to pair that with a Ramato and a Friulano, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute. And then we're going to make a risotto with truffle and pecorino, and that is going to go with one of the Merlots from the Brandolini family. And the let's see, the Valpolicella from Ragose, and then we're doing a grilled portobello with polenta, and that's going to be with the Cabernet from Ragose and their Amarone, which my autocorrect wrote Amazon.
I said I've never studied this wine before.
So okay, Bronzino.
Yeah, so branzino. Normally you use a whole fish, a small sea bass, but I couldn't get it yesterday because I just came back from vacation. I didn't order it in time. So we're going to use these beautiful pieces of sea bass, and I'm going to do it in my cast iron. You can do it in a clay roasting pan, anything. But I love my cast iron, so I use it whenever I can. I'm just going to put a little olive oil in there, and I'm going to put the fish down, and then I'm going to olive oil them again, and a little salt and pepper, olive oil, salt and pepper, the Trinity.
I'm gonna have a little Ramato while you talk.
Oh, it was so good. Salt and pepper. Oh, I forget salt and pepper. So I keep a jar of ground pepper right next to my stove. It just makes it so easy when you need to salt and pepper something quickly. You're not standing there cranking the pepper out. So, whoops. So a little salt and pepper. And I'm going to put some herbs on around it and on the fish. So I ordered oregano and I got dill. So there you go. But so I'm just going to put some dill in, and I've also got thyme. So thyme is a really gentle, beautiful herb that I like to serve with fish. It doesn't overpower it. Oregano can overpower something really quickly. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to put the whole sprig on because we want flavor, and we're going to infuse this fish with flavor. Isn't that pretty? Everything's so pretty. We eat with our eyes, and I always try to remember that when I'm cooking. If we see something beautiful, we anticipate it tasting beautiful, and if we see something that looks like we feed our dog, we can anticipate it tasting that way. So I've got the fish, olive oil, salt and pepper, some herbs. I've cut up some baby tomatoes, and I'm just going to toss those around. There was a restaurant here in San Francisco called Pane Vino, and they used to do the branzino in a clay dish, and they would put it in the pizza oven, and it was just incredible. So I'm going to put some wine. I'm not going to use our beautiful wine, but just a light, dry white wine. I'm going to put a little bit of wine in there.
Nice.
And because we can, and then in the oven it goes. 20 minutes, 400 degrees, and it is going to be delicious.
So while you do that, I'm going to just talk about, I'm going to do the Ramato first. So one of the things that you got to go see it is a Pinot Grigio. I'm backwards and I can't get it right. Pinot Grigio is actually a gray skinned grape. Grigio, or Pinot Gris in France. Pinot Grigio means gray. The skin is actually, it's like a pink color. And so if you do a little skin contact with this grape, it makes pink wine. And so incorrectly, but to make it easier for people to understand, consider this kind of like a rosé wine, which rosé wine is a red grape that gets skin contact, but only briefly. And this, you have a little more control because it's a lighter colored skin, but still imparts color. So I think about this as a rosé, and it's equally versatile to just drink with everything. And this is a beautiful wine. It's got a nice acidity. There's a hint of herbs. It's mouth-watering. It's juicy. It's fresh. And when we talked about this, I drink with my eyes too. When I see pink foods, I want pink wine. I don't know what that is. And so the tomatoes with the light fish, I thought is a perfect pairing. And I love this wine. I think it's easy drinking and fresh. And what do you think? Do you like it?
I love it. You know, I love, you know, my thing for Pinot Grigio is kind of that beer. That beer is kind of the trigger, but this has got a beautiful floral aroma to it, and it's really beautiful. And I love tomatoes with rosé, like you said, and this will just go perfectly. It'll be a perfect match with the fish. It's you don't want to overpower the fish, or you don't want the fish to overpower the wine. I think these are really beautiful, and that bright zinginess.
And they also are, you know, first course wines too. If you, I always think like for salads or for antipasto, think lighter things, you know. And then the other wine that we're featuring is this Friulano.
Yeah.
So Friulano is a grape that most people don't really know, but you've probably drank it. It's a little more structural. It's a little more round in the mouth. And I often find little green notes, whether it's green apple acid or tomato plant leaves or herbs. And so that's why this is going to hold up to a bigger dish, like a solid fish, but it's also going to be really good with a lighter dish, a salad or an appetizer of other, you know, other things, and all kinds of seafood. And so
this will pick up the notes in
exactly
the herbal notes in the wine. Yeah, no, I love it. It's bright. It's really refreshing and light. You know, it's not going to weigh you down. It's a perfect.
But it has a textural roundness too that is a little more substantial.
It does.
So we're doing it a little bit bigger than the Ramato. So because we're cooking the fish is going to be 20 minutes, we're going to come back for the reveal on that. So now we're going to go to the next course, correct?
Yes. Let me adjust my wines here. So the next course is risotto, and so what we're making risotto with truffles, and so let me plate this. I'm going to add.
Will you move that lid so we can see it's covering? There we go.
Forgot my placement. So,
but can you talk about how you stored your truffle and how do you just buy a truffle every year?
I just know, I know this truffle company here locally, and they put up a sale email for truffles. So I grabbed a couple. What I did was I just, I cut them into quarters and I just buried them in the rice. So I've got one of, this is white rice. And then I've got one with, I've got one in a jar of polenta, of cornmeal. Right. And then in arborio rice.
And you can, once you've cut the truffle into quarters, you can keep it at room temperature in those jars?
Yeah. Let me see if I can dig it up. I might have to pour it out.
Oh, you can do that. Okay. But then that permeates through the whole, so then you can just cook the risotto and you get the flavor.
Yeah, I mean, I can smell the whole, I mean, this whole thing smells like truffle. Here it is.
I didn't know you could cut them and they would keep. I thought that's very interesting. Okay.
He's our little guy.
Beautiful.
Oh, so good. And,
you know, I can't really smell truffles anymore because we serve this dish at Waverly Inn that's like a famous macaroni and cheese with truffles. It's like a 4 white cheese thing. And so I'm so inured to it. Like every night it's just truffles all the time. And I really don't even smell it anymore.
It's like you don't hear the sirens anymore.
Well, exactly. or you know, the other thing, working in restaurants for so long, I really don't even notice the music in the background. I'm like, it could be this thing, just tune it out.
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
So you can. So normally you would put truffles in the refrigerator. You want to wrap them in linen and wrap them in unbleached paper towel, and then wrap them in linen, and then put them in a container in the fridge. to make them last. But another way is
A glass container that you taught me.
yeah, put them in a glass container. Things last so much longer. Or if you want to fragrance something, just put it in a jar of it, and it'll dry it out, but it'll flavor everything in it. So, so I've got some risotto here that I have been lovingly stirring all morning, and so there we go. I'm going to put just a splash of broth. So I made this broth. I had all these little jars of stock, and so I just put them all together in one jar, and cooked it down to just 1 pint jar. And so all I need is a tablespoon, and I put it in that 4-quart pot of water, and it flavors it perfectly. So there is my risotto, and I'm going to put some truffles. I don't have a truffle. I don't have one of those fancy truffle slicers, but put some of these. So I'll just slice some of these guys on top. And
now I'm afraid of cooking risotto at home. Is the trick just to keep stirring?
Yeah, you can let it go for a few minutes and then stir, add water, add liquid, stir, let it go for a few minutes, stir, add liquid. So, I mean, you don't have to stand there and do it the whole time because they'll fall apart, but you know, I was doing it like every 5 minutes, I would go back and stir.
Oh, okay, that's listed.
So I wanted to put some thyme on here. Where's my thyme? And we've got some, just want to put herbs. Whenever you put herbs on anything warm, they and it hits something warm, the aroma just explodes, and it's so beautiful. I'm gonna put a little bit of that, and then we have this beautiful pecorino, which is so good with risotto and the truffles. So we just do a little snow flurry of some pecorino, and then if you want, you know, we're always looking ways to add flavor, healthy ways to add flavor. I could drizzle it with some olive oil. I'm gonna put, I'm just gonna do a little lemon zest over it, and it's just gonna give it a little kick. Whenever you want to amp up the flavor of something, you want to add acid. So it could be lemon zest, lemon juice, lime juice, vinegar. But this gives it a light, bright, fun note. So I think that was all we had on this one.
Did you want to put parm on there too, or just the pecorino?
No, parm goes on the polenta.
Okay, so you lift it up over the glasses. The glasses are blocking a little bit. It's so beautiful. Oh my God, that looks good.
Wow. Yeah, it smells so good. My whole apartment smells like these gorgeous truffles.
So when you spoke of is it the thyme, right? It made me think of the Merlot, because these guys are known for their Merlot. This is the Stomo Merlot from the Brandolinis again. Let's see if I can turn it the right way. I'm really struggling with this backwards in my light. There we go. Okay. So their Merlot, they have these like 100-year-old vines of Merlot, and clay soil, the I guess the dad of the family right now, the owner, family winemaker, he went to Bordeaux, and he was what do you call it? So impressed with the Merlot on clay there. He was like, well, I have clay. And they planted this. So they have these 100-year-old vines, and it's really good Merlot. It's got this little kick of an herbal note that I don't find in other Merlot, but I just love it. And it's that thyme that you put on there just is perfect with it.
You know, now that I'm tasting it, I'm going to put in a little bit more thyme, because it really has that beautiful green note to it that will just pick up on this. And
it's bright cherry enough that it can like, I think you have enough depth from the richness of the risotto and the truffle that the acid, like my mouth is watering just tasting it.
Right.
And it elevates it up.
I also have these little truffles in a jar, and I'm going to put a few of those on it. And then I'm just going to drizzle some of this truffle oil over it. Oh my God. So if you want to get really decadent, you can do that. There's also, if you are on truffle overload, there's beautiful lemon olive oil, and you can just do a swirl on that, and it'll just lift the flavor. And again, it brings in that, the lemon is that bright, fun, vivid acid, but there's also that like lemon leaf to it, which is so beautiful that the Merlot would pick up.
And I just learned recently there's like a thing that your brain does that if you keep eating one thing, your brain kind of has these satiety signals that it sends. But if you're sending an opposite, like the brightness of the lemon or the brightness of the wine, your brain, it kind of rejiggers the complexity. The complexity rejiggers the satiety so you can keep eating it. And that's why you refresh your palate, but it also kind of resets your brain that it's like, I haven't had enough Risotto. I can go back for more now because you have this bright, vibrant, fresh wine.
Oh, interesting. I've been doing a lot of research on exercise in the brain and the things that we do to keep our brain functioning and sharp. And a lot of it is are these new exercises and opposites, and counting every fourth number while jumping up and down. So I mean, it's so interesting to learn how even food we can help keep our brain sharp. And I gotta take a bite because it's not
please
so good.
do it. And they say, take learning something new, like we all had to learn Zoom over the quarantine, but also learning a new language, learning an instrument. It keeps your brain alive. And so that's what's fun about these things, that kind of keeps you on your toes. So the other wine we're putting with this dish is the Valpolicella. I spoke to Marta Galli this morning. Her grandfather created this wine. Ragose is the winery. It's named after the hillside that it's on. And Valpolicella is the, kind of, I don't want to say basic, but it's the mainstay in Valpolicella. It's as Marta described, it's like an everyday wine that they drink every day in northern Italy. It's not expensive. It's show where Friuli is first.
Here's Friuli, the yellow, the little yellow area. That's Friuli, and then right here,
and then Valpolicella.
Right, the little green area right next to it.
Okay. Beautiful.
So this is Venice. So this is right where Venice is.
Exactly. And it's this
well.
The Brandolinis are very close to Udine, which is where I was staying when I went to visit my friend in Friuli. So again, in very similar ways, the Valpolicella has a bright red, bright cherry note, but there's a little herbal depth, a little tannic structure. But it's not a simple wine, but it's like an everyday wine that will kind of play backup singer to almost any dish. But again, perfect with a risotto. God, my brain isn't working today.
Kelly Rowland to Beyonce.
Seriously. Today's been a day. So.
Oh my God, this is so good. It's, what I love about it is when you think about Italian wine, you think heavy, and you think super high in tannin, grilled steak to eat with it, but it's really light and refreshing, but it's got the like, as you describe it so well, the structure to it and the texture. Yeah. That goes so well with this.
And I find that these wines kind of even go with like a arugula salad or something like that, because there's a little, there's something in a green bitter salad that I think goes well with tannins. You can't overdo either one, but I think they go well. They're very versatile, but it'll also hold up to a steak, or we talked about ragu this morning, or what did she say? The word, I think it's the word for braised, brasato. Like when you cook meat in wine, that's very common in this region.
Yeah, it's like coq au vin. You get an old tough chicken and throw it in wine and cook it all day, and there's your braise. Yeah, no, it's delicious because this is earthy, and this is really bright, and you can really taste the fruit in it, but it's also got that earth component to it, which goes so beautifully with the truffles and the herbs.
Laura, did you set a timer for the fish?
I did, but I'm good.
I think we're like right at maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's got another few minutes. It'll be good. Okay. I'll just turn it off and then we'll perfectly.
I really wish I lived down the hall from you, so I could just.
I wish you did too. I do too.
All right, should we go on to the next dish? We're moving at a good clip here. You're so organized.
All right. I am so excited to get to the Amarone. I even gave the glass a special. I've got Brad in his Speedo on my Amarone, which is what you want when you're drinking an Amarone.
I'm Corvanning my other one.
All right. Oh guys, this it took about an hour to make the polenta. It's David Tamas's recipe. He's a chef at Chez Panisse. And he has a New York Times. He's regular on there too, and I think I used his recipe too because I have actually made risotto that was quite good, and I was surprised because I get intimidated. I'm not as good as you, and I get intimidated. But honestly, get in there and maybe this is not perfect the second time, but you can figure out this next one. No, it's great. It was. You know, he said I put 1 cup of polenta, 1 cup of cornmeal, and 5 cups of water, and just cook it really slowly over about an hour. I ended up using 6 cups of water because I wanted it really creamy. Mm-hmm. And so I did 6 cups of water. I used some of that broth in there, but it's beautiful. It's creamy, it's smooth. It's got that, it still has texture to it. Mm-hmm. And so it's got a little bit of crunch to it, but it's really, usually you get these and it's like, you know, like eating a brick. But this is just so light. And
although I do love when you chill it and slice it and then fry it in butter the second day, you know, I love that too, though.
Yeah, everything's better fried in butter.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I forgot to do? Damn it. Can I swear on
you can swear. We're PG. Right. That was.
I forgot to. I'm going to stir in a little mascarpone.
Oh.
It's just so decadent, but I think our Amarone can really hold up to it. It just gives it a richness, and it would probably blow out the regular Valpo, but the Amarone, I think can really will really hold up to it and balance it well. So I'm just stirring in a little mascarpone, which is that beautiful triple cream. Mm-hmm. And let's do that. Now let's put it into my bowl. One good thing about doing these at home is that you can lick your fingers. Somebody actually got really upset at me for doing that. I was like, if you're worried about that, don't go out in restaurants.
Well, yeah, when you're in a restaurant, the chefs often check the temperature of the steak, and I'm sure you can do it with your fish. You touch it to see doneness.
Yep, exactly. So now I did something, I did a little sneaky thing on the side too that I wanted to share with you. So we've got our risotto and
polenta.
Let's see, mascarpone. Oh, okay. Oh my God. So I roasted some big portobellos. I brushed them with olive oil, salt and pepper, and balsamic, and I just put them in the oven at about 300, and I cooked them for about 2 hours. And they're so beautiful. So let me cut a couple of these guys. And I'm just going to slice them and toss them on top. But they are so earthy, delicious, decadent. It's over here so you can see it. And then, this is what I did. I took some balsamic and I cooked it down, and I just reduced it to this beautiful syrupy. Mm-hmm. And you know, this is sort of a hack that you can do. You know, that really expensive, like 40-year-old Modena balsamic vinegar, the aged vinegar is so expensive. If you just take an inexpensive bottle of balsamic and put it on low on the stove and cook it down, so you've got about a half a cup left, and then chill it, it will create this beautiful, you can't see it. See if I can do it. Oh, by the white. It's beautiful syrup, balsamic syrup. And I'm just going to drizzle that over it. And this is just going to take it up to the next level. That's so good. You can mix this into butter, make balsamic butter, and put a chunk of it on a steak after you've grilled it. You know, it's really good, drizzled over strawberries.
Oh, interesting. You know what I did once? This is when I was culinarily adventurous. I cooked the balsamic down to, I don't know if it's a candy phase, but I really cooked the shit out of it. And then I dipped cherry tomatoes in it and
Oh,
made a rosemary sprig I stabbed in the top. So it was like a candied balsamic glaze crunchy around us cherry tomato with a handle of a rosemary. I'll send you a picture. It was
sounds
really
like
cool.
it sounds like a popsicle, not a popsicle,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a pop.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
'Cause,
amazing.
I want to talk about the wines with this.
Yes. Yes, yes.
So you don't think about Cabernet so much in Italy, but this is again planted a while back, I think in the 80s, Cabernet. And this Cabernet has an intensity, and I couldn't quite place it until you said you're balsamic. And it actually that it's gonna marry with, there's a balsamic note in this and a almost minty freshness that is, it's an intense big wine that's going to be great with the richness of that polenta, and still again not overpowering. That's the hard part about having a big wine that's still fresh. You still want to go back for a second course or a second sip. And again, it's also one of the points of wine is to reinvigorate your palate when you have a intensely flavorful dish like Laura has just created. Again, I'm so jealous.
It's so rich, and it balances really well with this. And you definitely, the balsamic picks up both.
Yeah, yeah. I often find that like there's one of the things I talk about as a bridge component, and even if it's just something of that drizzle, it's gonna make that. A good wine pairing is like when 2 + 2 = 5. You know, they're gonna be good all on their own, but when you put something magical together, it's just like it's a whole other thing, and that does that. And then the Amarone, I have the 2010 or did you have the 2010 or 2015?
I have the 2010.
Okay, so again, this is softer than a lot of Amarone because it's got some age on it. And I think we had a bad connection when she was telling me, but I think it's aged a little bit less than the 15 in barrel. But it takes a year to ferment, and then it has years in barrel. And I believe this one is Slavonian oak. But again, Amarone, for me, Amarone can be kind of pruny and stewed fruit, and sometimes just and kind of dusty. These wines are so vibrant and they're rich. They kind of wake up the sides of your mouth, like the tannins, and kind of just coat your mouth, but they also wake up your tongue and refresh everything. So it's just winemaker magic when you can cover all those bases.
I love that winemaker magic. That's perfect. It is so beautiful. It's it doesn't have as much of the balsamic, but it's in the same flavor range.
Mhm.
And so it really pairs beautifully. And the earthy portobellos pick up right with the earthy Amarone. And these are dried on mats, right? So I think that's how they do them.
Yeah.
They dry them on mats, so they're going to be really intense flavor.
Yeah.
So this one isn't overpowering this, and vice versa, which is, this is really why I went to study wines, because I really wanted to understand better the food and wine pairing aspect of it. What's that one that nobody knows, that great wine pairing, exactly. And really bring that to the culinary. But normally you would think of like a Chianti or a something from the northwestern part of Italy or Tuscany, but I mean, this is so beautiful with it.
It's fantastic. And I didn't really, it's very obvious once you say it, but Amarone means big bitter, like Amaro is bitter, which, because in the old days, when you dry grapes out, the sugar content increases, and so you end up making a sweet wine. And so that's what Recioto is. And that was, I think in the 80s, maybe the 50s, they started making the dry one. And so to tell everybody that it was not sweet, they called it Amarone, and that's where the name comes from, which I find fascinating. Mm-hmm. And it's very precise. You have to get the certain clusters that have enough air, enough space between the grapes to dry on the mats, because air has moved through there. It's very precise, and not all the grapes, the best grapes. And there's just, again, winemaker magic, and the people in the vineyard got to know what they're picking the right one. And the guy who watches there's a long word like a passamento something. It's the room where they dry it. It's my Italian's awful.
Did you do a vineyard chat and you went into one of those rooms?
In a Vinsanto one in Tuscany, yeah, with a Vino Nobile maker, yeah, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, that was amazing. It's
Passamentare, I don't know, something like that. But anyways, this Amarone is so good.
It's delicious. I mean, this is something. I mean, you can pair it with a fireplace and a cat.
But Laura, on the note of pairing, I have always had this theory that in the old days, a dish, it would have been the polenta with the mushroom, and it needed an acidic note. And nowadays we put the balsamic on there because I feel that chefs nowadays make a very complete dish. It's got height, it's got crunch, it's got a little sweet, it's got a little bit bitter. And I don't think so many dishes need a glass of wine, whereas a Chateaubriand or a simple steak, it kind of needs a wine and enhances it. And I just wonder what your thoughts are on that. If you maybe garnish something differently because you're going to have it with a wine, or how does that work? 'Cause it's a complex thing.
Yeah. God, that's such a great question. When I'm pairing something, I try to think of the whole picture.
Yeah.
And what are the main notes, and even what are some of the more subtle notes of the wine that if you put just, a sprig of thyme in, it would bring out that note that you might miss. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not a fan of gratuitous garnishes.
Yeah.
The ubiquitous leaf of mint on the with the
Right.
raspberry coulis. But I think if you garnish it with something that really balances what's in it, I mean, you always want to be in balance.
Right.
So many times you just see a sprig of rosemary in there, and if you're really to incorporate rosemary into it, it would overpower the dish. So I always want to, I mean, you want to consider whatever you're garnishing it is a component of the dish. And then with the wine, does everything balance with the wine? Are there any clashes? Because there's the like with like, and then there's the opposites, and you do the blue cheese and the sauterne, which you're the expert at,
Wow.
which is so opposite.
Yeah.
But then you get the Pinot Noir with the Epoisse, and it's like with like, and clouds part and the angels sing.
Exactly.
So it's trying to find, it's all about the balance. It's
Yeah.
you don't want one to overpower the other. And I think
Yeah.
wine was, at least in Europe, as you know, wine was made to be enjoyed with food. And
And also, I think people are a little afraid to go ahead and do the fish. If you need.
this guy.
I think people are afraid to, if you like Cabernet with oysters, by all means, drink it and enjoy it. It's just like it, just have a bottle of wine on the table and enjoy it. It doesn't have to be a perfect pair every time. I just think that when it is there, to be aware of it. Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful? It's such a visually beautiful dish. And
You can bring that right to the table and put it on the table as a centerpiece.
You can. That's why I love cooking in cast iron, because you just put it in the center and say, have at it.
Yeah.
And it really literally brings people together, not only around the table, but around the dish. And, but I always say we eat with our eyes, and, the last thing we eat with is our mouth. We eat with our eyes, we eat with our nose, our ears, our fingers. You can hear it, you can smell it, you can see it, you can touch it. And then you eat with it last. So you want to hit all those senses first and think about that. And then the taste will is the crescendo, the fat lady singing. But it's such a beautiful dish, and we've got these very light flavors that will be perfect with the lighter white and Ramato.
Exactly. And you saying that I can't twist these things the opposite direction. It's so hard. Whenever I do dinner parties at the Waverly with winemakers, I always have one family style dish, because I think that engaging and serving yourself, it adds another layer, because you're kinetically connecting with the food. There you go. Thank you for that.
Sure. And I would do that too. When I was in France, I would get a bunch of little desserts and then cut them into quarters and put them across the table. And then people were sharing and passing. And
nice.
And I sometimes I'll make an edible centerpiece. Oh. So dessert time in Italy, as you know, I have such a vivid memory of, as soon as they were done with dinner, my grandfather would pull out the walnuts and the walnut cracker and the cheese and the fruit, and that was dessert. And so sometimes I'll do apples and oranges and nuts and some cheeses as a centerpiece, and then just make it an edible centerpiece.
I love
that. It's just ways to engage with people. I mean, it's, as you know, we do this because we love bringing people together around the table, and it's such a great way to do it. And wine, add wine to anything, and turns a meeting into a party.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
all right, so let's try this with the wine.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, it's hot. Mm. So this
Friulano.
Friulani it's gotten even more floral and more aromatic as it's warmed up.
Mhm.
And it's just light and bright, and it just brings in a whole new dimension to the fish.
Yeah.
Which we didn't taste in the very beginning. Before it was just citrus and tree fruit, and now we've got this beautiful floral component, which just adds another layer of flavor to the fish.
There's a silkiness that's kind of reminiscent of the silkiness of the fish.
Right. Yeah, and then our Ramato.
Try it with the Ramato. I don't want you to burn your tongue.
It's worth it for this.
Exactly. Workman's comp.
This is a great wine. I mean, this is great by the pool. I mean, you pair it with your lounge chair and a good book.
Exactly.
You know? So it's just one of those beautiful dishes that you can, one of those beautiful wines that would go with so many things. But even oysters would be great with this.
Oh yeah.
Let me get a tomato in here.
Yeah, that tomato I bet's gonna be really good with that.
Oh my gosh, so good. Something about a little skin contact and a tomato.
Yes.
So beautiful. It pairs so well together. Yeah, I love rosé with fish, and you know, you don't think everyone's taught white with fish and chicken and red with steak, and but you know, I love any kind of a rosé with fish. It's so good. Even salmon, even a big fish like a salmon.
Yeah, 100%. We should actually do a thing on red wine and fish sometime.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be fun. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure. I gotta say, you're so amazing that you did all of that in like 45 minutes, and you are so organized and so talented. I'm just in awe of you all the time.
Your wine knowledge is encyclopedic, Jeff. I'm in awe of you.
Well, thank you, honey. All right, so this will be archived on YouTube and Facebook, and just stay tuned and we'll show you everywhere that we put it. Okay. Thank you, honey.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day and International Women's Month. And it's a really good time to learn about, if you're just doing it on social media and hit the hashtags, there's so much going on, and it's shocking to see. I mean, it's not shocking, it's thrilling to see how many winemakers and how many women are involved in wine. It's not a man's world anymore. And that's
so many. And there was just a book that just came out up here in Napa Valley of female winemakers up in Napa Valley. So I look forward to the day when we can just say winemakers and not have to make it a big deal that there's women. But surprisingly, what I found, you know, I came into this wine world very late in life, and the amount of women winemakers and women in the industry was such a delightful surprise, and they're all very supportive and encouraging.
Very supportive, a lot of camaraderie amongst each other.
A great camaraderie. So that was a wonderful surprise. So happy Festa de la Donna.
Happy Festa de la Nonna. Thank you again, Laura. I'm going to let you end this at your leisure.
Oh God, don't fall. one last picture of our.
So beautiful.
You know what I would pair this with is a sparkling Asti.
Yeah, exactly. Some sparkling.
La Salvetica.
Yep.
Sparkling Asti. So our
beautiful.
mimosa cake.
Oh. Yum.
Thank you so much, Jeff. This has been
Thank you. It's good to spend the time with you.
You too. It's been way too long. It's damn COVID.
All right. Well, we'll do more of these soon, I hope. Okay. Take care.
Mwah. Ciao. Buon gusto.